Deep in the wilderness, where the mountains guard their secrets, a lone man and his faithful dog stumbled across something no one was meant to see. At first glance, it was just an old tree, ancient, weathered, and scarred by time. But growing from its trunk was a massive, unnatural lump, swollen like the earth itself was hiding a secret. The dog growled, circling, his instincts razor-sharp. The man's gut twisted with unease, urging him to cut it open. What spilled out from that tree left him trembling, his dog vindicated, and the entire mystery more shocking than he ever imagined. Before we start, make sure to hit like, share, and subscribe. And really, I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. The mountains were quiet, untouched by the noise of city life. Crisp air flowed through the towering pines, and the sound of rushing streams echoed between valleys. For years, Daniel had chosen this solitude over society. His cabin, built with his own hands, stood firm against storms and winters. He didn't need much, just the land, his axe, and the loyal dog that followed him everywhere. The golden retriever, named Scout, was more than a pet. He was a partner. Together, they had learned to read the mountain's whispers, its moods, and its secrets. Each morning began the same. Coffee warming on the fire, boots laced tight, and Scout ready at the door, tail wagging with anticipation. They explored the trails, hunted for food, and gathered firewood, their days measured by the rise and fall of the sun. Daniel often spoke aloud to Scout, knowing the dog's silence was wiser than most men's words. Out here, it was just them against the wilderness, a bond forged in trust and survival. But the mountains, beautiful as they were, often hid mysteries in plain sight. Fallen trees, unusual rocks, strange echoes in the distance. Daniel had seen plenty of odd things. Yet nothing compared to what he and Scout would stumble upon that fateful day. A discovery so strange, it would change the way he saw the forest forever. It was late afternoon when Daniel and Scout ventured deeper into the woods than usual. The air was still, the kind of silence that made every crunch of leaves beneath his boots sound louder. Scout trotted ahead, nose low to the ground, tail wagging steadily, until suddenly it stopped. The dog froze, ears perked, eyes locked on a massive pine that towered above the rest. At first, Daniel saw nothing unusual, just another old tree weathered by time. But as he drew closer, his steps slowed. Something about its trunk didn't look right. Near the base, a huge bulging lump protruded from the bark, almost as if the tree had grown around something trapped inside. It wasn't the smooth swell of natural growth. This looked deliberate, unnatural. The surface was knotted and tight, the wood straining against itself, cracks spiderwebbing across its shell. Moss clung to its edges, making it look even stranger, like a giant scar that refused to heal. Daniel ran his hand across it, feeling the ridges beneath his palm. His gut twisted. Trees didn't grow like this. Scout circled the trunk, his body tense, growls rumbling low in his throat. Every few steps, he barked sharply, then looked back at Daniel, urging him to pay attention. The man frowned, unsettled. Something was hidden in that tree, and whatever it was, Scout clearly didn't like it. Daniel stepped back from the tree, his brow furrowed. The lump seemed almost alive, as though the old pine was guarding something within its core. He had lived in the mountains long enough to trust his instincts, and right now they screamed at him. This wasn't ordinary. Scout's growls grew sharper, echoing through the silent forest. The dog pawed at the ground near the trunk, his hackles raised, as though warning his master of a danger that couldn't be seen. Daniel tightened his grip on his axe, his pulse quickening. He circled the tree slowly, studying it from every angle. The lump bulged outward like a swollen knot, its surface cracked with lines that almost resembled veins. The deeper he looked, the more unsettling it became. A chill crawled down his spine. "What are you hiding?" he muttered under his breath. Scout barked again, the sound sharp and urgent. Daniel had learned long ago that the dog's instincts were rarely wrong. Whatever was inside, Scout already sensed it, and it wasn't something to ignore. Daniel's hands tightened around the axe handle. He hesitated for a moment, torn between reason and instinct. Cutting into a tree this ancient felt like trespassing, but his gut wouldn't let him walk away. Taking a steadying breath, he planted his boots firmly in the earth. "All right, boy," he whispered. "Let's find out." Daniel raised the axe high, its blade glinting faintly in the muted mountain light. For a moment, he hesitated, listening to the stillness around him. The forest seemed to hold its breath, as though watching what he would do next. Scout barked sharply, circling the tree with restless energy, urging him forward. With a deep breath, Daniel swung the axe down. The blade struck the lump with a deep, resonant crack, sending vibrations through his arms. The sound was different, hollow, almost unnatural. He stepped back, his pulse quickening. Whatever was inside, the tree wasn't solid. He swung again, harder this time. Chips of wood scattered, and a strange, musty scent escaped the cracks. It wasn't the fresh pine smell he was used to. It was older, heavier, like something sealed away for far too long. Sweat beaded on his forehead as he struck blow after blow, each swing carving deeper into the bulging mass. Scout growled at every strike, his body low, tail stiff, as if preparing for something to emerge. Finally, after what felt like hours, the axe bit through to a hollow chamber within the lump. Daniel froze, chest heaving, the echo of the last strike fading into silence. He pressed his hand against the opening, wood splintering under his touch. Something was inside, and as the air shifted, Scout let out a sharp, warning bark. Daniel leaned closer to the hollow, his breath quick and shallow. The darkness inside seemed endless, but the smell was overwhelming, damp, earthy, and laced with something metallic. He reached into the opening cautiously, his fingers brushing against something smooth. For a heartbeat, he thought it was stone, but then the surface gave slightly under his touch. Scout growled, ears pinned flat, his eyes never leaving the gap in the tree. Daniel's hand trembled as he withdrew it, clutching a fragment covered in dirt. He wiped it clean, and his stomach lurched. It wasn't bark, it was bone. Shock surged through him as he stumbled back, staring at the piece in his hand. The hollow wasn't empty, it was a grave. Scout barked furiously now, scratching at the ground, his instincts screaming that this was no accident. Daniel steadied himself, his heart pounding in his chest. He swung the axe again, widening the hole until the truth spilled out in fragments, remnants of an animal, perhaps several, preserved unnaturally within the wood's embrace. His breath came in ragged bursts as realization struck. This wasn't just a tree with a lump. Something, or someone, had hidden these remains long ago, sealing them away where no one would ever think to look. Scout's growls softened into whines, pressing against Daniel's side. Together, they had unearthed a secret the mountain never meant to give up. Daniel sank onto a fallen log, the fragment of bone heavy in his hand. The forest felt different now, no longer silent, but watchful. Scout pressed against his leg, his warm body grounding him in the moment. For years, Daniel had trusted the mountains to be his refuge, a place of peace. Yet now, he realized they also carried secrets, some too dark to be left hidden. He ran his hand across Scout's head, whispering, "You knew before I did." The dog's steady eyes seemed to say what words could not. Instinct had led them here for a reason. As the sun dipped behind the peaks, Daniel carefully gathered what he had found, wrapping the remains in cloth. He didn't know who, or what, had been sealed within that tree, but he knew they deserved rest, not concealment. Scout followed quietly as Daniel carried the bundle back toward the cabin, the weight of responsibility pressing on his shoulders. He had uncovered a mystery, but he had also been reminded of something greater, the bond of trust between man and dog, and the importance of listening to both instinct and heart. That night, with Scout at his side, Daniel lit a small fire under the stars. He gazed at the mountains towering above him and whispered, "Some truths aren't meant to stay buried."